Hello, everybody. I'm Ned, Head of Advertiser Customer Success at Permutive, and I'm here today to talk to you about this notion of reimagining programmatic. I'm going to also talk about the value, of course, that Permutive brings to the situation, as well as highlight some of the amazing work that our customers are doing with our platform as well. So the way we see it, there are three fundamental challenges that underpin the majority of the way that programmatic works today. The first is an identity problem, a problem that a lot of the digital leads or perhaps programmatic specialists in the room will be pretty familiar with. Cookies remain the core currency of the open web. However, the reality is their overall reach is minimal compared to the available audience. We're continuing to see a reliance on them because of the fact they provide some key capabilities like measurement, targeting, or perhaps frequency controls. The second is a collaboration problem. Well, it's known that first-party data is a key part in one's strategy in evolving their approach to programmatic. But the reality of doing this is that it's actually pretty difficult. Data doesn't seamlessly flow from one infrastructure to another when trying to collaborate with the likes of a publisher. The third is a supply path optimization problem. Due to the structural processes and infrastructure in place between how DSPs and SSPs interact, we're continuing to see opaqueness within the industry. For some large-scale advertisers, there are situations where they've been seen as bidding against themselves when activating out many different DSPs. Because Permutive is the infrastructure for many publishers globally, this gives us a unique insight into the problem. If you take 100% of the open web today, we already know that 50% of those users are choosing to use a browser that in its nature blocks third-party cookies. That's the likes of Safari, soon to be Edge, and also Firefox. What we're left with there is 50%. That is Chrome users. However, what we can see within that is that a further 40% of people are choosing to disable tracking within Chrome. What you're left with here is 30%. By our estimates, we predict that open web reachability, this is our way of describing this problem, sits at around 30% globally. And the impact of that is inefficiency in media spend. DSPs are built to be supplied by cookies, and that means you have situations like this, where one of our advertisers that we did an audit with before an activation, we saw an over-reliance on a cookied audience. So they were spending 60% of their media to reach 22% of their audience. What was left on the table was this massive audience without a cookie. And you'll notice some nuance in the term cookie there, and we're including alternative identifiers within this. Alternative identifiers play a key role in the evolution of programmatic in the future, but the reality is right now that overall reach is minimal, and that's delivering scale problems for advertisers. And over the past few years, lots of different solutions have come to market, including Permutive, that talk about different ways to solve this problem. One could be clean rooms, one could be cohorts, one could be the different alternative identifiers that exist, be that UID, ID5, RAMP ID, Privacy Sandbox, PAPI. The reality is it's becoming a pretty difficult ecosystem to navigate for advertisers, but importantly also publishers. So how do we go about solving those problems? Well, to solve the identity problem, we believe that you need to partner with the right tech that allows you to reach your prospective audience, but across all devices and browsers. To solve the collaboration problem, it's important that you're at the forefront of the developments that are happening in that space that allow you to move data seamlessly from one infrastructure to another. To solve the supply path optimization problem, well, working directly with publishers was always the best way to maximize the return on your investment in media. But we need to think about that in a realistic manner. We need to be able to provide that to advertisers, but in a way that scales. When you solve those problems, you get great outcomes. The results that you'll see on your screen are some results from a customer of ours who is a leading broadcaster and telecoms company in the UK. That first tested Permutive on one of their products. They tested it twice. They did this because their philosophy is that if you test it once and it works, you test it again. If it works, you scale it. The results that we saw we were able to increase their reachability by 2x, so we increased their ability to step beyond the 30%. And as a consequence of that, combined with them using their first-party data to fuel the targeting, was that we increased their sales versus their BAU approach by over 100% in both iterations, and we halved their CPA in both iterations as well. So this was transformational for their programmatic business, and this has gone to be rolled out. Permutive has gone to be rolled out across their prospecting activity, across many different products. What's important to highlight here is that these results are their results, not ours. This was done through their approach to measurement, which includes an approach which combines match market testing with existing econometric studies. Why is Permutive well positioned to help here? Well, I mentioned it earlier, but Permutive is the data infrastructure for over 150 premium publishers globally. This puts us in a unique position to help. It also provides us with an enormous amount of scale. What it also provides us with is an enormous amount of capability. Search and social are channels whereby you have the benefit of having a lot of authenticated users, a lot of signed-in users. We're going to call them identity signals. But publishers don't have that same luxury. It's not as an inherent part of how their business operates to have logged-in users all the time. So we have to look at the other brilliant signals that publishers have available to them. The first is contextual signals. So what content is surfaced on a page? Is it a product review or perhaps a recipe for a certain type of food? But also behavioral signals. So what a user actually does on those pages. How long did they spend reading a piece of content, for example? Or perhaps how many different pieces of content did they read within a single session? All of this data used in combination becomes really, really powerful. How do you collaborate in a world of signals rather than just identity? Well, one of the ways that you can do that with Permutive is by uploading your first-party data into a clean room, matching that with the publisher's first-party data of the same format, and using all those brilliant signals to model out a representation of that audience across the entire open web. How do you solve the data collaboration problem? Well, I alluded to it earlier. There are a lot of innovations happening in the space in terms of how infrastructures allow you to move data from one clean room to another. Thanks to interoperable formats, you're now able to query data in contrast to copy and pasting data from one entity to another. The latter there involves a lot of legal teamwork. It also involves privacy teams, and in many situations involves engineering resource, something that is costly. With interoperable formats, querying data makes this process a lot more simple. How do we solve the supply path optimization problem? Well, as I said earlier, working directly with publishers is always the most efficient way to do this, but the reality is if an advertiser wants to work with many different premium publishers at scale, it's quite difficult. So if, for example, an advertiser is to activate across 20 publishers for a single campaign, it's not particularly efficient for them to have to optimize the spend across all of those publishers. Thanks to the partnerships we have in place with the likes of Programmatic and soon to be Google, we're bringing curation capabilities to market. This means that you can buy a Permutive audience, a Permutive cohort, in some instances fueled by your first-party data, and transact on that audience against a single PMP deal. This reduces the operational lift for agencies and frees up time for them to invest elsewhere. So, with Permutive, you can enhance the ROAS of your investment within the open web today, and as you've seen, in some instances, double sales and half CPAs. To do that, you need to work with the right tech to allow you to reach 100% of your target audience. You need to work with the right infrastructures to allow you to easily collaborate on your first-party data. And you need to work with the right processes that allow you to improve your supply path and reduce inefficiency. And I'm going to leave you with this quote from one of our customers, Kumar Amarenda at Sky, who's the head of digital marketing, planning, and data science. He talks about the impact that Permutive has had on his programmatic business. I'm not going to read it out because every time I try and read it, I butcher it. due to the nature of how long that first sentence is. But we're really proud of the partnership we have in place with Kumar and his team. Thank you very much. We'll be around for the rest of the day, me and the team. If you have any questions, please come find me.